agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
And it looks like we may be going free, at least for briefly here. I wanted to get back on with you all and talk a bit about the presidential debate and see if you all had any questions about what took place there. And to talk a little bit more briefly about Crucible, which is, of course, available. Please, now is the time. This is the 30th of September. We are getting ready for the October sprint, ladies and gentlemen. Warm up. Get the blocks ready. This is the 100-meter dash of 1 month to have the most propitious moments in history, perhaps the most propitious moments in your life, to reach many millions of normal, red-blooded, ordinary, patriotic, God-fearing, Constitution and Stars and Stripes waving Americans across the United States and coast to coast, Canada to Mexico. Make sure you reach them with Crucible. Just get in front of them. And I think right off the bat, I want to say that we should, today we were going to, I think, select somebody new. And this was, I think, something that we were going to try to maintain throughout October as well. Select somebody new on Twitter that we would all tweet Crucible at. Let's make it James Woods today. Let's make it James Woods today and tomorrow, and then the day after, perhaps we'll pick somebody else. So James Woods, ladies and gentlemen, let's tweet at James Woods with Crucible. You'll be able to find the links, of course, in the description. You'll be able to find the links elsewhere. And getting the great word from our hero Raymond that entropy isn't working yet. So let me just have a quick look at that and make sure it is. It sounds like here the problem with this machine was the operator. That was the problem. The operator was having an error. So great to see you all. Great to see Raymond. Great to see Corey. James Woods, ladies and gentlemen. I think that's his name. And he was recommended as one of the people that we should, James Woods, that we should be reaching out to. I will reach out. I will tweet that we should tweet at him with Crucible as well, and then I will tweet him directly myself. But we should all do that today and tomorrow. You could do it a couple times and ask those who are in your circles to do the same, to reach out to James Woods with a tweet. And what we're hoping to accomplish here is that these individuals who have large audiences, they'll see the text and they will begin maybe looking into it, and then themselves maybe tweeting it or sharing it. That could make all the difference in the world. Remember, the water that we live in, if we're fish, like the water that we have to swim through, that is either going to be something that is more viscous or more fluid, something that works for us, or at least, let me rephrase it, that works with less resistance against us and what we're trying to do for white well-being, or it can be something that gets much worse. It can be, the societal context, the zeitgeist, the mood of the society in which we have to live, in which we have to work, in which we have to spread and struggle in service to white well-being. That's going to be determined by the populace itself, the ideas that are going to be circulating. What matters here is not all of the anti-whites out there. It's our white brothers and sisters, the vagues, whom we have to reach, help to go free. And right now for October, we're just about to, the starting pistol's about to go off. We have to reach them with Crucible. So we're able to sort of like get a few steps ahead of ourselves in this 100-meter dash of October, which we're going to make the fastest October of our lives, the biggest effort of our lives. We can do that. And by reaching these many scores of millions of our brothers and sisters in all of these communities that are implicitly white, that will want the things that can only exist, that will only be in place if we are the dominant projection of biospirit in the United States. They're things that they rely on, that they care about, are only going to persist if we remain in that condition and position And therefore, we have to reach them with a text that once they imbibe it, they'll be empowered with several very important pieces of lexicon, particular words and concepts and arguments that in their lives will make it much easier for us to reach them in time to come, and will make it much more difficult for the anti-whites to steer and manipulate them. And indeed, if nothing more were to take place, if we could only plant this seed in the soil of their fertile interest and minds right now, and then the day after we disappear by some horrible chance or twist of fate, if that were to happen, this seed in and of itself would be able to bear fruit for Western kind in the future. That is why it's so important. That is why every single day, every single one of us need to be reaching out. And I'm glad to see that so many heroes have answered the call. James Woods, and keep doing everything you're doing. Keep reaching out to those blogs. Keep reaching out to content creators. Let's talk to as many people as we can. If you know a content creator, a large content creator, an author, or whatever it might be on a platform, tell them about Crucible. Tell them about me. Tell them that now's the time to speak with me, to interview me, to have me on. I will, despite how busy I am. I'm super busy right now, but I thought, I've got to get on. I got to do a quick analysis of the presidential debate. People will want to watch that, and we can also talk about Crucible. We've got signs. I guess, which side is it on? I guess it's on this side. We've got signs that will be available at some functions. They will be out. They've got QR codes. We have advertisements going up all over the place. We have things going on in the background, ladies and gentlemen, that you can't even fathom. If I were even able to tell you, you wouldn't believe it. You would not believe it. So know that you are pushing in a direction, that there are forces and people and powers that are pushing, that can and will make things happen. Be a part of history and do the right thing. Serve white well-being. Go free, and let's get Crucible to as many of our brothers and sisters as we possibly can. It might be your tweet, your gab, your Facebook, your message on the blog might make all of the difference in the world, because you know how it is in reaching folks. They don't typically see something one time and then say, well, that's it, I'm going with that. They typically have to see it a couple times. They typically have to see it, and this is for everything. They typically have to see somebody else say, oh, this is really meaningful, or this is a great read. And I want to salute everybody who heard the admonition that I sent out yesterday about getting onto blogs, about getting onto these live stream chats, doing it in the live streams for the conservative realm, the MAGA realm, and some more of the white positive or near or closer to us white positive. What is it, perigee, when we're talking about the orbits of celestial bodies versus apogee. So this is what we need to be doing. And I saw people doing that. I saw Althea doing that. I saw folks out there doing that, making a change, recommending a Crucible. Hey, it might have been me dropping it or somebody else dropping it, and then you ended up dropping in the live chat. And now somebody who's in MAGA, who goes to these auctions to buy automobiles because they have so much money that they just don't know what to do with it. So they just collect car after car, and they love throwing money at that. Maybe then it'll be that guy, who owns the oil wells, that will buy the book because you were the fourth or fifth or sixth person that recommended it. And then they're going to buy it. They're going to get excited. They're going to want to look into it more. And then before you know it, he's on the phone, and maybe the limo with the steer horns pulls up out front. Who knows? And then we have the organizational entity. We're off to the running. This is not going to be a typical going free. We're just going to briefly talk right now, get right into, and I would appreciate that at the minute mark that we put that in the thread afterward, where we started talking about the presidential debate and the analysis. I'm going to take a quick look. Looks like Landon is here over on Discipline Channel, and Raymond's over there as well. The Orange is here. Full moon, great full moon ancestry. God was never on your side is here with us. I don't know about that. Aaron, Twin Ravens. Let's see. Barak Sear and the great Carlisle is here. Hello, my sweet lady. Good to see you. So many great heroes. Piers Taylor Aaron is here. This is an unusual time to be going free, an unusual day. So if you could really quickly grab the URL, send it out to your circles of influence if you haven't already, and we're going to get rolling. If you have questions about the debate, let's hear them. I'll speak to them. You want who won, who lost, what did Biden do well, what did Trump do well, what could Biden have done better, what could Trump have done better, on the different layers, on the sociological layer, on the psychological layer. Speaking to their hardcore constituents, speaking to the fence riders and their proctologists, speaking to whoever they have to speak to. We can cover all of these bases because we have the intellectual horsepower to be able to do that. And we'll talk about all of those things. And we touched upon them certainly during PWR today. I know that some of you had questions about that earlier today, and we didn't have a chance to get to those questions. So there were some important things. One of the questions that we didn't have a chance to get to, I'll start off right now and address, because we were running out of time, and I wanted to make sure that we got everybody's financial gifts to Mark in, so I went ahead and just said, well, Mark, let's just keep rolling and get everybody's comments in so that we can hear what everybody has to say, because I'm always interested in everything that your thoughts, your suggestions. Crowdsourcing is the way we are going to cross that finish line. We all have a little bit we can add, and in one way or another, and together as a team, as a people, we will make it happen, period. No questions asked, no excuses accepted. So one of the questions I didn't get an opportunity to speak to was what is there going to be more, are there going to be more debates between Trump and Biden? There was a question prior to, and you'll remember, and these are the kind of things, and we had Slots just do this recently, brilliant hero champion in service to white well-being, who went back, found a clip of me making a prediction, and then shared that clip as soon as the prediction came true. That is important. That is a splendid thing to do, a puissant thing to do, because if you make predictions that come true again and again and again, as is the case here, as we do over and over, people are going to say, what is the formula? What's working? Why is that method always right, or almost always right, or has a percentage of accuracy far greater than elsewhere? Certainly far greater than everything else you find in the white positive sphere. So thank you to Slots for doing that. A big salute to you, my brother, for doing that. We said here that absolutely Biden had to participate in the debates, that he would not be able to just shrug them off and continue with the election, that it would be it might as well, I said repeatedly, might as well just forfeit the election and tell everybody, don't bother voting because we're not going to participate in the debates. In America, really anywhere, especially in the West, then we can speak for our people. If two competitors they're facing off, we want to see them challenge each other's mettle. We want to see the big game. We want to see, and now there is a little bit of on another level, the concept that has to be addressed, which is that these things aren't really debates. They are parallel discussions. And if Donald Trump would like some advice, I'll do it gratis, and no one will have to know. But the reality is that Trump was not as prepared. This whole concept of it being a debate is the wrong way to look at it. It's two parallel conversations. Your conversation is only tangentially with the person that is on the stage with you. That doesn't mean you can't address all of the different things that you would like to accomplish in that conversation vis-a-vis that person. But your conversation is with that potential voter at home. And so we could talk about that. I said with certainty, we can go back and please, if somebody knows where these are, they know where these clips are, find them and share them. We had all the way back at the presidential, when the Democrats were just gearing up to ascertain when were their debates going to be held, how many potential nominees were going to be permitted to run for the president, for the office of presidency for the Democrats. And there ended up being a whole slew. as you all remember. And I said back then, you all will remember, those who are regulars, who go free all the time, you all will remember, I said, it's 100% going to be Biden, has to be Biden, because there's a bigger layer here that speaks to the power of the anti-white oligarchs behind the scenes, and that they know that later, after a lost election, thinking that the percentage of victory is slim for them, no matter what happens, that they'll be able to write the history books and they'll say the reason why Biden lost this election is because Trump and these awful others, which they'll then give that title to anyone in the future. So please understand that as well. It's not going to be just the Trump MAGA. That title will then be grafted onto any of the groups that get in the way of anti-whites inflicting harm on Western kind and Western civilization. They want to be able to have and expand the demon group that they'll be able to graft onto any group in the future by saying, look, the election was lost because the Trump campaign knew, everyone knew, this will be how the history would be written, that Biden was going to be the candidate for the Democrat Party. And that's why the Trump administration investigated, what is his name? Which son is it? Whatever it is, the son that was over there working, what was it, for barista or whatever it was. And so that then they could say, and that cast doubt onto Biden's legitimacy. It cast doubt onto his integrity. It cast doubt on whether or not he would have a just and fair and open administration that wouldn't just be rife with corruption. And so the American public recoiled at that information. Therefore, the Democrats lost the election. They would have won, but they lost because of this illegal activity or unethical or however they want to phrase it. So there was that bigger umbrella. Understanding, by way of going free, what's really going on in the world, enabled me to make that prediction. All of your other content creators that you think are so bright, that content creators that have their pulse, they're reading every day the news about what's going on in this political party or that political party or whatever it might be. They all got it wrong, didn't they? I didn't hear from anybody else, certainly not then, that it had to be Biden and it was going to be Biden all the way through. There was no chance. Everybody else they were debating. And look, people make mistakes. That's fine. But you have to decide in the 11th hour of our survival where you're going to throw your lot in with. Are you going to continue listening to folks who one day thought, well, the Democrat nominee has to be this person, and then 2 days later, oh, it's 100% going to be this person, and then you invested your credibility by heading into your place of business or heading into your family circles and then repeating what these people said. 3 more days, it had to be this person. 5 more days, it had to be that person. 1 more day, it had to be this person. And I said Biden, Biden, Biden the entire time, and it ended up being Biden. It wasn't like a 50-50. Remember how many people were involved. And the reason it had to be Biden is the unstated reason that I just shared with all of you, unstated from the Democrat Party. Remember, everything that's coming from these people, everything that's coming through the news is sanitized for your consumption. And these people who think they're very clever, they get on these, they have just absolutely Brobdingnagian audience sizes. And they say, well, we're going to give you the truth about what's happening because we're going to read the news from Singapore, or we're going to read the news from whatever part of the world. That news is sanitized for that population, and it's sanitized in a way to serve the interests of those who are in charge behind the scenes, those who have the dominant power. There's no place where there's just absolutely monolithic control over all things. That's not how human power, dynamism works. Manipulation, that's not how it works at all. But what they're getting there is what is sanitized for that population to ensure the continuation of the rulership of whoever those folks are behind the scenes, who really hold dough, who really hold power, who get the people elected, and who rule by way of the office, irrespective of whose ass is sitting in that chair. So they're not being, all those people were wrong, every one of them. I looked throughout that. Just, this is important that we say this. This is not about, this is a fact. It's not about bragging. It's not about, this is if it's a fact, then it's a fact. And the reason why it's worth stating and repeating is because here is where you're going to get the lens to understand the world. Here is where you're going to get the lens to improve your life, to become more of who you were capable of being. And with that understanding, you're going to have a hell of a lot of peace in this world. You're gonna stop with this dog chasing its tail scenario. Is it going to be this? Is it going to be that? And you have these people making all the way up to 7 figures on these networks. And remember, they're being told exactly what to say. So there's no excuse for those people who are on just basic channels across the internet, running around with their heads cut off with it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that, and no consistency. Where do you want to be? Let everyone know what I just shared with you. Had to be Biden. Now, then we had the scenario where everybody was saying Biden was absolutely not going to debate because his mental health was deteriorating or whatever it is. Remember, this channel is not saying that is true. I'm not saying that's true about Biden's mental health. This is what other people are saying. I'm sure Biden is like another Aristotle. Just he's in his chrysalis. He's going to be coming out soon. But nonetheless, Biden had to debate because Westerners, Western kind, we want to see the people who are at odds come together and have it out. The guy who doesn't show up for the game, or the guy in a much cruder fashion, and everybody I think will understand this, when there's supposed to be a fight somewhere and both of the participants, and I'm talking about a fist fight, and both of the participants say that they could whoop each other's rears, and then one decides not to show, what does everybody think of the guy who decides not to show? So that would have been the end of Biden's campaign. The Democrats would have absolutely lost. Now, what they could have done prior to the debate is long prior to the debate is they could have begun building a context in which Biden could reject the debates altogether. They did not do that. And I'm not going to tell them right now and tell all of you all how they could have done that. And I wouldn't work for them, no matter these rabid anti-whites who call themselves Democrats, no matter how much they would offer me financially. But they could have built a context in which it would have been legitimate for Biden to say, nah, not doing debates with this guy. And still folks would have voted for him. It wouldn't have seemed like the guy who just chickened out, the guy who just was pusillanimous and ran for the hills at the last minute. But they didn't do that. And the reason they didn't do that, I believe, is that they did not believe, they being anti-white oligarchs, financing and supporting folks behind the scenes at all levels, did not realize that his health issues, whatever they are, were going to be advancing so rapidly. So I'm sure that there are health issues that are making him juvenescent, taking him to a younger stage of life where he's sharper than ever. But nonetheless, before he gets there, there seems to be this interim period where he's having trouble finding words. He's having trouble with numbers. He's having trouble with facts. He's having trouble with dates. He's having trouble with names of universities he went to. He's having trouble with where he graduated, and a lot of just things like this. They had no way of knowing, and nobody really does, when somebody comes down with, and I'm not saying Biden has dementia, definitely not saying he has dementia. I'm sure he is as healthy as you can possibly be. But elsewhere, when people come down with things like dementia or Alzheimer's, or they enter their dotage, there isn't a great arc, a great mathematical arc where they can say, okay, this is exactly how slowly or rapidly it's going to take place based on these factors. It's kind of a crapshoot. It could be slower, it could be quicker. And so no one had any idea how rapidly or not that such a thing would set in. And again, Biden's absolutely not suffering from anything like this. Just ask CNN, the arbiters of all things true. And so they found themselves in a scenario where, the Biden was maybe less than they would like him to be in a debate, prepared for a debate. And so they had to go forward with this debate. Now, the question was, are there going to be the next 2 debates? My guess is absolutely, but it's going to be conditional now. And the anti-whites are going to, who call themselves Democrats or independents or Republicans, whatever they are, because the anti-whites come in every single flavor imaginable when it comes to race, religion, political affiliation, etc. Through the Election Debate Commission, I think it's called, they're going to be pushing to make some changes so that candidates won't be able to maybe interrupt each other so much, because that interruption really made this debate yesterday into quite the spectacle, and made it difficult for people at home to hear the different positions and then base their decisions on different positions. But I believe for this, that's going to be the pretext, and it's going to work because there's some truth to it. The ultimate reason, though, the motivator, is that the anti-whites do not want Trump to do as well as he did in these next two debates, to do as well as he did this first debate. Wherever they placed him, they want him to do less than that. So X minus something. They want him to do less than that. And they'll be able to do that by setting up a new situation. Who knows what it might be? It might be turning off the microphones. That would be just the simplest thing to do. Turn off the microphone, and then when it's your turn to talk, the mic can go back on. And that would prevent President Trump from engaging in a lot of these areas where it's necessary to engage, because anti-whites are they're just going with the anti-white narrative. They're going with a fantasy the entire time they open their mouths. And so you just can't sit there, or stand there in this case, and listen to an anti-white feed this false narrative out into the population as though it's truth. And I'm sure for somebody like Donald Trump, that's particularly difficult to listen to. So entropy should be up, and let's see if it is. It is. You can financially gift if anybody's going to be doing that today on Entropy. You can also do it on Cash App, and I can pull that up over here just to make sure we have that. Questions or comments that are accompanied to buy a financial gift will get priority. Makes sense, doesn't it? But I also get to every single question and comment, do I not? So, wow, it looks like we do have this actually. When did these came in? Well, this is good. These came in. Did they just come in? Well, I'll be able to get to all of those. Thank you all so very much. You can also tag me as No White Guilt on the No White Guilt channel, Discipline with NWG on that channel. Monitors to my left, your right, monitors to my right, your left. And I'll be able to see those over the course of this stream. We're not going to make it a 4 or 7 or 8 hour one. I've got a lot of things to do to continue to push that book right there out to our ordinary brothers and sisters, the vagues out there, who need this desperately, who need it desperately. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. What's going to end up happening then, back to this election commission, is they're going to set up some sort of rules that are going to attempt to neuter Trump. Now, if they're able to do that, then what they would like to have happen, let me just phrase it this way. What they would like to have happen is set up some rules that are totally unacceptable to Trump and his team, so that it would be then on Trump and his team to cancel the next two debates. Trump, of course, is going to be using he and his team. Trump is, of course, going to be using he and his team behind the scenes with whatever contacts they have. With whatever contacts they have to try to prevent this commission from pigeonholing and cornering the Trump campaign, so that they would potentially have to cancel the debates because it is going to end up causing Trump to look bad no matter what kind of performance he gives, given who Donald Trump is. So that's the issue here. We'll see then. The Biden camp, they have to continue, but they're going to move. Now there is a bit of gray area here, where the Biden camp can say, look, he just wouldn't stop interrupting. A conversation can't take place, and all he did was lie the whole time. So these things are not really effective, and what's the use in it? And then if they did that, though, then that would give Trump the opportunity and his team to counter with some offers that could ameliorate or mitigate whatever their concern is. Then the onus would be on them, and then they would again look like they are the ones that are turning tail because the offer was there to mitigate the concerns. So there's a tiny bit of a gray area because you have human beings making decisions, and it's not like a computer, for example. If a computer is programmed in certain scenarios to do a very specific thing, and you can, since you know what the computer is programmed to do given certain scenarios, if you see the certain scenarios, you know exactly what the program will do because of the programming. Maybe you could call that intelligence if you want. It's not intelligence like human intelligence, but you could then say, okay, given the context, the computer will absolutely do this. Given the context, we could say, if we have enough of the information, that the Biden camp should absolutely do this. But that is not necessarily how it would turn out, because you have human stupidity, you have human frailties, you have people, they allow their emotions to get in the way of their intellect and the decision-making process there. So some of the most difficult people to predict, and where you have to get sort of a wider envelope, are for the dumber ones, the ones that they're going to allow their emotions to play more into the decision-making process, because it's like a wild scattershot of what they could potentially do. So there will be the percentage of likelihood of the next two debates is higher than not, without question. It is also percentage of likelihood is higher than not that they're going to try to castrate Trump with some sort of new rules so that he can't be who he is and will be less effective in what is not a debate, but is actually two parallel conversations. And the Trump team needs to figure that out ASAP. I'll take a look at your questions as we're rolling, but I just want to get to a couple of these things. We can talk first about who won the overall debate, and who did well and where, and who did poorly and where. And we can I think we could definitely say, and this is always going to be the case, those who already like Trump, it was he cleaned Biden's clock. Those who already like Biden, he cleaned Trump's clock, as the saying goes. I think for the vast majority of people who are not really one way or the other, they're going to go with Donald Trump. So I think if this is like a tennis game, then we can say that the match went to Donald Trump at the end of that conversation. I said on PWR earlier, I believe the debate was won by Trump before either candidate had spoken. And I still firmly believe that. And the reason for that is all of those folks at home, or those fence sitters, when they saw these two guys come out, they know that they're competing for what they believe. And it doesn't matter what we believe. What they believe, that the president of the United States or the president of any office is in 100% control, that no one influences them, or if there is maybe a little bit of influence, they believe the president or the office holder 100% on control, and there's nobody behind the scenes that has the power to move them one direction or the other. They know that the president is going to have to he's going to have negotiations, is going to have debates, is going to be under extreme stress, is going to have to go without sleep, is going to have to fly into different time zones, is going to be suffering from jet lag and flying red eyes and everything else. They know that there's an immense amount of pressure, that they have to do everything from the mundane or sublunary all the way up to the most intense negotiations that take nations all the way up to the razor's edge before war of the various types that war is waged in the world that we currently live in. They know these things. They know the job is important, and they see these two men come out, and one looks healthy, he looks full, he looks and he's also, we see he's on the TV, he's always campaigning, he's always out in front of everybody, he's always going for hours and hours and hours. He gets on the plane, he's getting off the plane, he's speaking again. And that guy that walked out confidently on that stage, of course, was Donald Trump. They put his picture directly beside the live feed, or his live feed, directly beside the live feed of a guy who kind of walked out a little bit uncertain on his feet, and was gaunt looking, and almost like the ghost of anti-whiteism's past. I mean, this guy just came out on the stage, and his beautiful smile, which he has always had, Biden's big beautiful. Everybody wishes they had Biden's smile, that big beautiful smile that he has. That was the only thing left in him. His eyes didn't have a sparkle to them. His skin looked sick. He looked ill. And at that moment, I thought that, okay, the debate is won. Nobody even has to, there's no talking here that's going to matter at this point, given the way that these two people look and what people believe the job entails. It's like knowing that you have to have some really heavy moving work on your property done. And one team shows up and they got a bunch of these white Scandinavian strongman competition guys. And they're as big as a Volkswagen, and then the other team is like a bunch of scrawny, emaciated, sort of looking people. You're going to say, well, clearly the first group is going to be the group that's going to be able to do the job. That second group, not hardly. So that's where I believe the debate was won. But then there were a lot of good things and bad things. Trump, I think, dropped the ball actually in a lot of places. I know that people who are patriots and conservatives and the like are going to have very specific criticisms related to his failure to cite different things that he has done for conservatism, for the country, promises that he has kept. Why didn't he talk about all of the promises that he has kept? And at the same time, while talking about the promises that he has kept, now he's slightly kind of maybe alluded to some of these, but you're dealing with people who are, most voters, they might be brilliant in their lives, brilliant at their profession, whatever it is, but the rest of their lives, and certainly in politics, they're pretty stolid. Things bounce off of them quite a little bit, and they're not going to necessarily get something that's hinted at, or there's a direction of thought here. They need to hear every single time. So Trump needed to cite all his accomplishments, and every time citing them, mentioning, and perhaps use a pithy phrase there about the headwind or the coup-esque or something of this nature, attempts by the Democrats to undermine all of these wonderful things that he has done for America, that he has done for American mothers, American fathers, American children, whatever it might be. He has accomplished all that despite all of what the Democrats said. He needed to drive that home every time. The Republicans, the conservatives, these kinds of people, that's what they're really going to be upset about. I haven't had an opportunity, been too busy to see what they're actually saying, but I'm telling you right now, that's what they're going to be upset about if you hadn't had a chance to look. And they'll say things like, especially the Republicans, but maybe even some of certainly the conservative talking heads, because the people who get the jobs and the money are the ones that are anti-white enough to get the money. They'll be saying things like, why didn't he mention the platinum plan? Why didn't he go on for an hour about the platinum plan and how much he's doing for Black America and how much he's doing for Hispanic America and Arab America and Asian America and women, and how much he's doing for everybody but white guys? Why didn't he do that? That's, I guarantee you, talking heads and the conservatives, talking heads and definitely the Republicans, that's what they'll be saying as criticisms for Donald Trump. That's what they'll be looking for him to do at the next debate. And if he follows their advice, make sure to bring your barf bag, what's commonly colloquially referred to as the barf bag, usually found in the seat in front of you. And make sure you get the barf bag out and be ready to hear that's the endless, just how much more can we do for all of these groups in America. And so that'll be the criticisms for him. Criticisms that I give. Oh, and then they'll also probably criticize his interrupting a bit too much. I think the interruptions, I don't think were too often, but I think that he interrupted and many of the occasions or some of the occasions with the wrong verbiage, the wrong point, the wrong impetus behind what he was trying to do, what he was trying to accomplish. So that's going to be very different between what somebody like myself is going to say was somewhere where he could improve, and what these idiotic these particular, like Republican folks who are going to be saying, no, talk more about all the good that you're doing for all of these non-white groups and for women. So we can talk also about where Biden went well. One of the places that Biden did really well was when Trump said things that were maybe objectively true or not. And remember, we are on YouTube, and so YouTube is operated by people who don't like Donald Trump, and so my verbiage is chosen to be as fair as possible, so that make sure you get your analysis of the debate from anti-white people who call themselves progressive, or call themselves liberals, or call themselves social justice warriors, or make sure you get the debate analysis from CNN. Make sure you get a well-rounded analysis of the debate, not just here. And I'm definitely not speaking for YouTube whatsoever. Biden has that great smile, and he used it powerfully. Whenever Trump said something that, let's just say, Trump and his camp believe is objectively true, and maybe you and the deity himself believe is objectively true, Biden gave like a little laugh and a big smile, and that was powerful as all hell for him to do. And there's a way that Trump can counter this and actually make it look really bad for him to ever do that, which is what he should do. But I'm going to keep my mouth shut on that. And if the Trump campaign wants to reach out, I'll help for gratis. But that's something that you'll have to reach out to me to get that info for. Biden did this beautifully. And every single time Biden did this, it made Trump look like what he was saying was false, like it was ridiculous, like it was of total fabrication. Biden has always been good at that. And it's really the smile that does it. That's what so many people, when I was on the Hill, I didn't like him for doing, because he would do it. It could be somebody could say on the other side of the aisle, the lights are on in the room. And if Biden laughed with that big smile, it would still seem like the person had lied, even though with your own eyes, you could see the lights were on in the room. It's a very powerful weapon that he has, and metaphorical weapon, argumentative weapon. I'm sure he developed it, becoming a politician, 47 years or whatever it is, working in politics at his face in the trough. So it's a very powerful tool that he uses, and it needs to be countered by Trump in a way that will work effectively for him. Another thing that Biden did really well during the debate was that he looked directly into the camera to talk to voters at home. Trump only did that, I saw, only one time. And it was just, he looked at the camera once and shook his head no to something that Biden had said. Now, perhaps they are telling Trump, and perhaps people smarter than me, I'm sure they're getting paid 7 figures, have told Trump, whatever you do, don't look into the camera. I don't know. I would like to hear the reasoning behind that. But when Biden looked directly into the camera and he spoke directly to the person sitting on their couch, or sitting wherever they're sitting on a love seat, they're sitting on a couch, they're sitting in their bed with their watching on their laptop, wherever they were in their home, they felt like for that moment Biden was talking to them, and he was saying the most just unctuous of just what do you call these? I guess they're like cliches. They're just these tired, shop-worn platitudes. He was like chief platitudinarian. He would say, like, together we can, if we get together, there's nothing we can't do. And though that's true, the presidential debate is not really a place that should be uttered, because of how ridiculous and just lame it sounds to be saying something that could be said by a coach to a 6-year-old girls soccer team. I mean, it was lame, but it's still going to have a powerful effect when he's looking right into the camera, and he changed his voice a little bit when he spoke. as though he were kind of speaking softly and importantly in your living space there. That was powerful for him to do. So he would have gained back a little bit of ground from looking like a corpse, not gained it all back, but he would have gained back a little bit of ground by doing that. And I didn't see Trump do that at all. In fact, one of the criticisms I give to President Trump about the debate was that it stems from his position day in, day out, working at the top of the social and economic structure. And when you're at that level, you're not dealing with individual people's lives. It's all for individual people's lives. I have no doubt that he actually is thinking about the individual. But when you're up at that level, no matter how bright you are, you can't be at all levels. You have to move the big pieces on the chessboard. I'd like to try to convey how these things, how I see it in my head. It's more like a three-dimensional space with like a substance almost that's like two substances. Well, I guess, yeah, two substances. One that is a bit more viscous and moves less easily, and then one that's a bit more fluid, and then there's a force that draws and repels. And when you are at that level and you are organizing society, you're organizing economy, you're organizing the contest of nations on the global stage, you're moving these pieces well in advance of needing them to be in the places they need to be. So when President Trump began speaking about these different policies and the things he wanted to do and the like, he was speaking from that level, from that sort of global, if you will, or galactic, if you will, with his Space Force level, rather than what Biden was doing very well, which was, this is about your individual life, you who's going to be the person who's going to be voting. So in the next debate and the one after, Trump needs to take the points that he makes, and this is one of my biggest criticisms for him in this debate, that he could have done a lot better on. And I'm not even discussing the points that he didn't bring in that he should have brought into the conversation. But every opportunity that he made a point that he wanted to make, whatever it might be, he should have then vectored the tail end of that point segued to the individual person's life and how it's going to affect their life. He should do that every single time. For example, like when he's talking, when the subject came up about Biden and Biden's, perhaps some would say like it's an irrational concern with a certain disease, and others would say it's a totally legitimate concern, whatever it is. He should have talked about that on the sort of global scale, and then vectored it or segued it into you, Mrs. Jones, who are already have been out of work for maybe 4 months or 5 months or working from home on the verge of losing your job. You'll lose that job if this guy's elected. It's going to get your pantry already getting thin. It's going to get leaner if this guy gets elected. And that's what you segue from the global conversation to the individual conversation. And when you do that, you look directly into you talk to Mrs. Jones, you talk to Mr. Jones, and you tell them this is how it's going to get bad for you if this guy gets into office. So that was one of the things. He should do that with all of those points. Bring it home for the individual. Let's see, what else did either of these guys do or not? Biden went really wrong with he called President Trump a many names, racist, clown, told him to shut up, and these sorts of things. And of course, Biden would use the anti-white slur, racist. Now, I don't expect President Trump to retort in the way that we could, at least for this debate. Maybe he will, but in the future. But if not in the debates, maybe at rallies. Who knows? But by doing this, Biden is certainly not going to be doing any damage to the people who are going to vote for him either way, no matter what he did. If he walked out and passed out, they'd still vote for him. He did damage with those people who he was just touching base with when he would look into the camera and change his voice a little bit. I'm in your home. You know, I'm speaking at low levels because your home is a sanctified, solemn space, and I just want to make sure you're home. He lost credibility. He reeled back any success that he was having there when he started throwing out these sorts of just sort of childish slurs. Now, Trump made a big error with these folks who were on the fence, if you will, of various stripes, the fence sitters. He made a big error by going after Biden's son and the corruption the way he went about it. Now, the reason for bringing that subject matter up is because you want to convey to the voters that Biden administration would be a grossly corrupt, wildly corrupt administration, and who knows how bad it will get for you. And that's a fantastic point to make to all of those people who are undecided or who are leaning one way or the other, and are not firm in their decision about who they would rather see in the White House. But the way he should have went about that was to demonstrate his empathy. He could have talked about family and how family members can go wrong. And it's a tragic thing when family members, especially our children that we love so much and we want the world for them, we want the best for them. It hurts so much when they go wrong, when things happen like they are whatever Trump claimed that the Biden son was responsible for, and whatever his discharge from the military was, true or not, whatever is the case that Trump was saying, or Biden said the opposite. Maybe that's true. But then Trump says it's terrible when this happens, and he could sum that up in seconds. But one should never, especially a parent, should never reward that behavior, should never reward that criminality or whatever it is by using their position in governance or using their position in power to enrich that child, to enrich. And that is exactly what my opponent here has done. I want the best for his son. I want the best for his family. I hope his son will get clean. I hope, whatever. And have empathy for the guy's a full-grown man, of course. And so you only need a modicum of showing empathy. But it's not for Biden's son. It's for those folks at home that are going to decide, does Trump have empathy for people, or is he just slandering folks, their families? This is what this guy did. So it's not an attack on Biden's family. It's an attack on and a prediction of what governance would be with this guy over here. And everyone at home would be doing this. We all love our children. Yes. We all want the best for our families. Yes. We should not reward bad behavior. No, we shouldn't reward bad behavior. They all would be saying that. And we definitely should not use positions of power to reward bad behavior with cash and clout and status that is unearned and undeserved and should go to somebody who earned it. And then after he did that, listen to this, and folks in the Republican Party, remember, you'll know how to find me. I know you guys have no problem with that sort of thing. He then could have immediately said, and how does that make you feel? Because I know this is really going to work for the Republicans. Let me just say. He then could have immediately said, and how does that make you feel, Black America? How does that make you feel, non-white America, Hispanic America, Arab America, Asian America? How does that make you feel? That this guy over here, everybody's going to be able to see that he's white, got his son with the power that he wielded as, and this, of course, I am not saying that this is true. This is Trump's claim. This is not my claim. This is Donald Trump's claim. In fact, it's probably false. All right. So it's probably false. It's a false claim made by Donald Trump that that Biden got his son some sort of position with some sort of barista company or whatever it might be. I'm sure it's false. But this is the way Trump could have addressed this. How does that make you feel, non-white America, that this guy did that for his son? You don't see that happening in our administration. And so that would have been another massive amount of points for Donald Trump in that situation, in that argument, that particular part of the conversation. The other thing that was problematic, I think, for Biden is being helped by Chris Wallace. I think that the Biden camp, if they want to persuade more people to vote for Democrat, what they need to do is they need those moderators to attempt to at least appear at least a tiny bit impartial, because everyone at home who's on the fence can see that Chris Wallace was favoring Biden, that Trump was seriously debating two people, and they're not going to think well of Biden as a consequence. There's only one. They can't punish Chris Wallace. They can punish Biden. So if you are, working for the Democrats, I don't think though this will end up being enough folks over there that'll be persuasive enough that'll be able to maybe say, hey, maybe this is a good thing, but this white positive guy is suggested for us. But they need their moderators to appear less biased in favor of Biden. If these moderators, just saying that they're unbiased, and then they get out there and they're like skewering Trump every opportunity that they have, and then they're asking Biden, like, what is the equivalent of what's your favorite color? Everybody at home can see that. It doesn't matter that you said that you're impartial. Everyone at home can see that you are biased in favor of Biden, and that hurts Biden at this point. So that's another point that I just wanted to mention. Now, one of the things that is, or two things that are extremely important for Trump, and I'll go ahead, I gave them out to the Republican Party free of charge. There's much more, though, that I have up my sleeves, even though they're short sleeves today. But what Trump should have done in this conversation with Biden from start to finish is give the viewers, potential voters, fence sitters, the impression, essentially subliminally, subconsciously. So he doesn't have to overtly say it. Subliminally, subconsciously, with some sort of a conversation that runs parallel to this point that won't be lost on anyone, that Biden is an empty suit, that he's not going to be in charge of anything. You vote for him and you're not getting him. You're getting somebody behind him. You're getting, or folks, handlers around him. Now, I know that Trump was trying to divide him, and this is clearly another Republican tactic. And I know he said at one point, I think he said, well, Kamala will be in charge. That's not no, that is pathetic. That's not becoming of his intelligence. That's not becoming of his success. That's not becoming of anybody saying this to him, and to just outright say that. They take their 7-figure salary from them, and I don't know if you want to drop some of it on me, but I will work for gratis. You need to fire whoever that person or people are. The way that this should be done, the Trump camp, the way that this should be done is there are two things Trump can do. Number one, never talk to Biden. Talk to his handlers in his responses. Talk to the unseen people. And he can talk about the unseen people. He can say to the audience, you don't know who you're getting by voting for this guy. You're getting some people that that they're radically, well, we would say radically anti-white. He would say radical leftists or whatever. You know that, but you don't know their names. You won't be able to hold them responsible. You don't know. So say like the Biden's, here's an example. Let's say Biden wants to, he wants to hold off. I don't know exactly what he wants. So let's just say candidate B wants to hold off on a vaccine until it's been more tested or whatever it is, or until they're actually in office, right? So candidate A can say in response to candidate B wanting to do that, so in so many words, we can word this a lot of different ways, but the folks, I know that this is what candidate B is being told to do behind. I know this is what he's being told to do. You don't have to say behind the scenes. I know this is what he's being told to do. And I know he'll do what they tell him to do. Saying that, and that's sort of in so many ways, and then speaking what these people need to know. Well, who are these people? The people that are telling candidate B what to do. What these people need to know is that Mrs. Jones needs that vaccine right now. And because she is in the deadliest age group, she has COPD, and I have access to the best minds, the sharpest minds in science. And what they're telling me is that this is ready to roll, but the problem is red tape. They're telling me it's as safe right now as it'll be 6 months from now, but the problem right now is politics. I'm not saying that these things are the fact, okay, folks? I don't have any, I'm not giving any opinion on vaccines. I'm just telling you these two people having a conversation, these two candidates, all right? That's what he says. So you see, he has conveyed to potential voters that it's not this guy. It's others that you don't get to know who they are. You know that they're something, but you don't get to know who they are. If he answers like this and he peppers that in throughout the conversation, throughout the debate, if he peppers that in, then he ends up conveying without ever saying that candidate B is an empty suit and a hollow head. He's just vacuous-eyed. He conveys that without ever having to say it, without ever having to openly insult and potentially aggrieve or affront who knows how many fence sitters who will think, well, that's just so impolitic that he just said X, Y, or Z that way. He conveys it nonetheless, right? The other thing that he could do to convey the exact same thing, and he should do, candidate A, peppering in here and there, is that when candidate B is having a hard time with some stats, is having some hard time fumbling some words, well, let's just say stats first. If he's fumbling with some stats, candidate A can help him, looking like he's showing, and technically is, showing empathy for this person who's struggling. Like, just, you know, he could jump in, he could say, oh, candidate B, I don't think you meant 2 million, right? You meant 200,000, didn't you? Isn't that, okay, I wanted to make sure you had that right. That's what he should have said. By doing that, as well as the other, peppering that in, again, he's conveying his empathy, his humanity to potential voters. And at the same time, he's tacitly conveying to all of the audience that this person is not well. Candidate B is not well. He's not in charge. His faculties are weak, and there are others behind him who are actually in charge. And is that really what you want in a candidate? You see the power of what I'm talking about here? How else could he have helped him? He could have helped him when he starts fumbling for words. Okay, candidate B fumbled a number of times for words. So what candidate A should have done when he was fumbling a little bit there is he should have said, he could have come out, he could have done this once, just one time, and said, candidate B, take your time, just get your thoughts together and go ahead and convey what you want to say. You don't have to rush, just say what you want to say. That, again, would have conveyed his humanity and his empathy, and conveyed that this candidate B is getting increasingly vacuous by the hour. What else could he have done? Let's see. I talked about vectoring, and I don't even, this is just, these were, if I was getting paid to do this, if I was getting the kind of money that they get, the 6 and 7 figures, I would have reams of data, scrolls. Instead, I jotted down some thoughts at the very beginning of PWR. Those are the same thoughts that are here. I went and had to do other things. I was even getting ready. I got ready for the end of the night, got ready for bed tonight, and already put my shirt. This is why it's a different shirt I'm wearing than I was in PWR earlier, is because that shirt's in the washing machine. It was time to get washed. I wore the shirt. And then I decided, you know what, I better jump on and give some people some info so they understand what we're talking about. They have some prediction. They can talk with their fans and friends and family members about these things in an intelligent way. They can have reasonable and tenable arguments and expectations for the future about what could happen. One of the other things that I think, I'm going to keep to myself, if the Republicans want to throw some of those six figures this direction, is how to handle what is clearly a parallel discussion and not a debate. These things are not debates. Debates, at least by my definition, and you'll see as my definition is applied to our scenarios, how the outcomes of these scenarios, or the definition, I don't own it. I didn't make it up. I mean, I didn't read it anywhere, or I didn't learn it anywhere. But it's a view or a perspective of what's taking place in these scenarios that I think is a more accurate way to understand. Like, there can be different types of formulas for understanding in physics, for understanding physical phenomena in the universe. Some of them are going to be more accurate than others, and in fact, we're researching those all of the time. And so this is sort of the same thing. They're going to call this a debate. They're going to continue calling it a debate. And it probably originally was a debate because you had people coming together from different parties who had the exact same objective. And that objective was, let me just make sure everything's okay over here. That objective was the health of the country. So since both candidates had the exact same objective, which was the best for the United States, and it was coming from an identical morality. They both had the same morality. They both had the same understanding of reality. So same morality, same reality, and they both wanted what was best for the country. They then could debate which ideas, which concepts, which approaches, which methods would best serve the objective of what's best for the country. You don't have that anymore. You have people coming together who have different moralities and different realities. Ergo, a debate is impossible. It's totally impossible. You couldn't possibly, and of course, objectives are different as well. And the objectives are different because of the different moralities and different realities. So when you have, that's why it can end up seeming like just a shout fest or just a shouting match, and it doesn't seem like any ground is being gained or lost, because it's not. It really is coming down to when this happens. I mean, Christ Almighty, how do you have such intelligent people who have gone to such brilliant institutions, I'm sure, working for both sides, and neither side has realized this? How has this happened? They go out there still behaving as though this were a debate in the truest sense, and they end up then just yelling at each other. And then there are all of these other markers that end up serving, all of these other signals that end up serving as the for or against arguments that nobody can actually make out in words between the two candidates because of the differences of the origin where they're both coming from. All these other markers serve. I mean, you could actually get to the point in the future, if this were to continue, but it wouldn't. Everything would go to hell in a handbasket. It would go one way or the other in a hurry. But you could take it to like an intellectual argument level where, just for the laboratory, where all that was left in these so-called debates was how flamboyant the clothing was between the two. Who had the most flamboyant clothing? That's the one I'm voting for. Everything else, just the guy that or the woman that I like, that's it, and or don't like, that's it, or I'm on the fence. So it's just who has the best clothing, and that's the one I'm going to end up voting for. in an intellectual sense, in a laboratory sense, it could get there. In the real world, it can't get there because you're going to have one of these realities, one of these moralities are going to trump the other, and that's the one that's going to end up holding sway. There'll be little back and forths, just like watching a graph in economics, but then you'll be able to step back and see, and finally it'll be one direction or the other that it ends up falling. I don't know how these people with such high IQs and from these best institutions, collegiate institutions, universities in the world, I'm sure, are working for these parties and with lots of money, and they still don't. I have struts in my car that have been squeaking for 2.5 years, 2 years now. So just so you know, campaigns out there that could use some help. Of course, there's one side I wouldn't work for. But let's see. What else did we have here? I talked about Biden's smile. I talked about there's a way to undermine that I would share if I were paid to share it. Let's see. Talked about the approach of Trump to the family and the criticism and depicting the conveying how much corruption would be in a Biden administration. You know, when it came to, I think both Mark and Greg, I think Greg particularly on PWR, but Mark a little bit, thought that Trump really aced the COVID-19 part of the debate. I think less so than both of them. I think it was probably 50-50. And I think that it would have been very easy for Trump to do infinitely better than, it's candidate A to do infinitely better than candidate B. But I think that if anything, it was 50-50, or maybe, Biden won that part. If he won really any part of the debate, it might have been by a hair on that part, because it's very easy when you have, and again, when you're talking about these different issues, there isn't a one argumentation or debating tactic that rules all. There's no ring for them all. There's no ring that will win in every scenario. So you have to isolate these topics and say what works with this topic, what works with that topic. And I'm sure this guy, the healthy looking one, could have very easily remembered which tactics to use, and they were allowed notes. They could have brought notes out. But when it came to the issue of a pandemic, it's very easy to be outside a new disease. It is infinitely easy. The field is completely in the hands of the person who doesn't hold the power. So it's like, if you want to relate it to sporting, you could say soccer or American football. Like the field is tilted against you in favor of the person who's not in power, because they can criticize every single decision that was made within the fog of war, not knowing what the disease does. And I know that Trump mentioned this like once, for somebody like Greg, obviously a really bright guy, he's like, oh, that means everything. But that's not the kind of person that, they're talking to folks who, maybe they are a professor of astrophysics, but when it comes, hyper specialized, we've all become hyper specialized. But when it comes to following politics and what's going on, they're idiots, and they're going to need to hear again and again, why is it that there was a order to do X and then to do Y and then now to do X again? What's really going on? They're going to need to hear that a couple times. So, because the field is in the hands of the person who's not in governance in a big way, the person who is in governance needs to refield that conversation to that fact and point out then the behavior of this person doing the criticizing. The conversation needs to be made that, rather than trying to defend against, on June, whatever, we had to make this decision because of this information. And then on 30 days later, we had to make this decision because of that situation we found out. And then we found out a little bit later, the next 2 months after that this could be done. Now, that just ends up making you look like your administration is scatterbrained. They have no idea what's going on. They can't get a handle on anything. So it had the absolutely that going about it the way he did was not the worst it could have been, but it was definitely not candidate A's level of ability. Let's just put it that way. And he needs to get some new advisors. That's not his level of ability. Needed to refield that. Also, this again going back to what candidate B's party is doing to make it difficult for him. This is the other part of the field where you're refielding this to talk about being the person out of power and how easy it is to criticize in the fog of war, and then also and maybe a concrete example or two with the description about this is what candidate B's party is doing to make it difficult on me to, and then look right at the camera, save your lives. We are working with the top scientists in the country and indeed around the world. I have them on the phone whenever I want them. I have the best. He doesn't. I have the best on the phone. And as soon as they find out new info, it comes into my ear the minute it's discovered. And what's happening the entire time that we're trying to get, we're trying to perfectly define what this is and moving forward on all of these different levels. You could talk about could mention the different, where the economic level, the medical level, the vaccine level, the therapeutics level. You could just cite this right down. You can say the whole time we're moving forward on this to save you, Mrs. Jones, to save your life, or to save Mr. Jones, your father's life. While we're doing all of this, his candidate B's party is undermining us. And here's a concrete example of how they are undermining that. Or here's another concrete example of how they are undermining this. I think finally I'll say, and then I'll look at because we're over an hour. I got to get back to work. I got so much to do and not enough time to do it, is when it came to his taxation, candidate A's taxation. I think that, and then I'll give maybe my final assessment of candidate A and candidate B. What he should have done with the taxation situation is say, just like every single one of you, I try to pay the minimal amount in taxation that I have to pay so that I can employ more people, so that I can start more businesses, so that I can brighten more people's lives with Christmas bonuses and Thanksgiving bonuses. With that money that I don't give to bureaucrats like this 47-year-long guy in the government with his face in the trough so that they can make more money and they can pour more money into boondoggles where nobody but millionaires and decamillionaires are getting richer. I take that money and I invest in businesses and I make jobs. I build hotels. I build golf courses. Just look at all my beautiful things that I have built and look at all the happy faces. You know whose name is on that paycheck that pays for all of those gifts that the children greedily rip open out of the gift wrapping at Christmas, at the birthdays, at all of these sorts of things. It's my name. And I'm able to put my name on those things because I do like all of you. I pay as little in taxation to people like this guy over here for waste, and I make lives better with it. That's what he should have said. And then he could have finished it off with, and by the way, since it's his businesses and he's taxed not just on what he pays himself, but on his businesses, he could give the totality of that taxation, which is going to be millions and millions of dollars in taxes. So that is how he should have handled that. I'm waiting. The phone is still not ringing, Republican Party. I'll wait to see when it rings. I know I've just outsmarted every single 7- and 6-figure salary you have working for you. I know I just did because I've done it many times in the past when I've had these conversations at these different galas. I worked on the Hill. I know how dumb you all are, at least relative to what we're able to provide here. So I'll wait till the phone rings. But having said that, my final assessment, then I'll look at your financial gifts and questions, and then we'll speak briefly again about Crucible and what we're doing, and we're going to make this happen, ladies and gentlemen, because we're going to put this intelligence to the work of saving our people's lives, saving Western kind, recapturing our destiny. For everybody that lives here, for everybody that lives in Western countries, recapturing and saving all of our lives, because it's all going to perdition if it continues going with anti-whiteism. The final thing I'll say on the candidates is Trump did fair to middling for Trump. He's good at what he does. The guy, there's no deny. I find it so comical. It's such a tell on it. Intelligent people can see intelligence. So when people come out and they say, "Oh, this guy Trump is just an idiot. He's not actually smart at all. It's just a dummy," that's no assessment on Donald Trump. Donald Trump is stratospheric intelligence. The guy is super bright. He's healthy as all hell. You need this as well. He knows how to make things happen. All right. He knows all of these, people say when it comes to like an IQ test, they'll say, "Oh, that's just a test. Means nothing." Well, so is your math exam or your English exam and your essays that you have to write and whatever it is. Those are all tests too, that are testaments to your horsepower in your head. But so is your life. Now, that's not saying that every challenge in life, you're gonna have challenges every day in your life. What are you gonna do about, like for me, for example, the too many squirrels in the yard and they were destroying everything? What am I gonna do? I'm not gonna. I'll tell you all on a different Going Free how I resolved the squirrel issue in a humane way that made the squirrels most happy. But these are all tests that are challenging your IQ, your ability to process, your ability to solve problems, to solve riddles. Their intelligence isn't just a yardstick like a vertical leap, so that one person who can jump higher, that's it. They jump higher than you jump. That's not how intelligence works. It's much more like one of those sea urchin things or whatever they're called that have all of the spikes that come off. Intelligence is like these spikes at different levels. Some people's have great, and I'm not talking about EQ or anything like this. I'm talking about functionality, the actual raw processing of functionality and memory, whether it's tenacious or weak or what have you, of the human brain. And of course, having said that, we all know that every single human being is exactly the same. Just ask CNN or any professor at any university. The IQ is the same for every single group of people. Just know that. This guy's really bright, and his performance was fair to middling for him, which means, really good. He did really well. I had not set, I know a lot of people had set a very low threshold for Vice President Biden. And so they were whatever they were. I won't speak for them. I didn't set as low a threshold for him, but I think he did a lot better than a lot of people thought he would do. A lot of people forgot about this guy's smile and his dismissive laughter, that dismissive smile. It's beautiful. His smile is beautiful. You have to admit, you got to give credit where credit is due. You might, you could dislike everything about the guy, but the guy's got a beautiful smile. I don't know whether they're fake. They're probably, I don't know if they're dentures or what. They've been like that forever. But he's got a magnificent smile. And he used to have these beautiful eyes. But I don't know if it was and by the way, the tie that Trump chose was wretched. Can somebody why do I have to even mention this? I'm a guy in a camouflage baseball cap. I mean, I dress well when I dress well, but come on, who chose this tie? Biden's tie was absolutely magnificent, aside from the fact that the knot was crooked and lent itself to making him look like he was incompetent. So who was there that didn't straighten this guy's tie? So Biden performed a lot better than a lot of people thought he would. And it was really down to his ability to look directly into the camera and talk to the people at home with an affected voice, and to laugh off with the dismissive laughter and the dismissive smile that he has. I don't know what's happened to his eyes. He doesn't have the sort of sparkle, that scintillation that he used to have. And I guess that's just age. It happens to all of us. But he did really well there. Needs to definitely improve with the fumbling of words and maybe just give up on the citing numbers altogether, unless he's going to have a document in front of him where he can just look down and just read from the document. And he doesn't. I'm sure he needs glasses, so he could just have one of those magnifiers sitting down on the document and move it around to see exactly what it says, so you don't have to have hundreds of pages of font that big. You could just use one of those little magnifying glasses and move back and forth with it, and nobody would care that he's doing that. No, people would probably not even know, or just leave numbers out of it. And no more calling Donald Trump these childish names that he was calling him over the course of the debate. And what President Trump could do is, if he's going to interrupt, and he's going to have to interrupt unless they prevent that from happening, he should interrupt with all of the suggestions I made instead of the way that he interrupted. Because I guarantee you, there were a lot of people who are sitting on the fence. They're thinking, you know what, I'm still going to vote for that guy, that candidate A, but he was really an ass. The way he just kept talking over. And then, somebody else will say, well, that Chris Wallace guy was really, well, that's true. He was. And so they were in he was having to argue with two of them, but they're still going to feel that little bit of, that was just kind of, it was just kind of overbearing a bit. He just wouldn't let the other guy speak. And they can still rib each other. Both candidates can rib each other, but going to this clown and shut up, and then using the anti-white slur, racist and all, that's not going to win any points with anybody who's sitting on a fence. I'm sure the loons are going to go wild about that. They'll love it. They're really wild anti-whites. The one other good thing that President Trump did was he demonstrated. He probably didn't have to do it as much, maybe just a couple times during the conversation, that candidate B has a very radical, a large, not like a tiny fringe group, but a very large, very radical segment of the growing segment, maybe the predominant segment of his party. And they are just relentlessly pulling him that direction. He can name it whatever he wants to name it. Of course, we would call it Antiwhiteism. And then give an example or two, concrete examples that will both examples, listen up, both examples will harm candidate B. Okay? So he mentioned one of them, this, I'm not going to say it, but we're talking about the out in the animal kingdom, you have predators and you have prey, and some of those are better than others, right? So he could have drawn the difference between, look, this candidate B has been pulled so far this direction that at one time he said this. Here's a concrete example that makes him look bad. And now he says this. And here's another concrete example that makes him look bad. Both of them make him look bad. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 200 IQ level of running these parallel conversations. And I am a free market agent, with the exception of not serving those who are more anti-white or who are more blatantly or saliently anti-white. Let me see what you all have to say. And we'll run over here to Entropy really quickly. Piers Taylor is here. What a champion. A big salute to you, my brother. $5 financial gift. And writes, Jason, YouTube is messing with the chat on NWG channel again. Comments are disappearing, and some comment don't appear. Switching to live chat doesn't help. The chat in Entropy is working well. How despicable is that? I don't know what to do. I will investigate further after the stream and maybe later tonight, and see if there's anything that can be done on my end. I will just say, for the purpose of our friend, let's see, how can we, he's got the initials AI, our friend. I will say for him, I know he's always listening closely, that we 100% on this channel support Joe Biden, and we dislike Donald Trump. We support Joe Biden and we dislike Donald Trump. Remember that, our buddy AI. We'll just use your initials so that you can be anonymous. We don't want to give up your actual identity. But that's how we feel about this election. And now we're into election cycle. We talked about this a lot, that the anti-whites at these tech giants and everywhere else, that they were going to be like monkeys on crack with wet toilet paper and just going through it, tearing it to pieces. And that's exactly what they're doing. They are, they're doing everything they can to help their guy, because if you remember all of the tears, all of the videos of them crying, all of the videos of them saying, we're going to have to do something much bigger next time, that all from the last time. So we just need to be aware of that, and we need to continue just to be very fair and impartial to both candidates. We have given recommendations to both campaigns. We have given criticisms to both campaigns, and we hope that you all will, after hearing my analysis, head on over to some other channels. I don't know what they might be called, as Young Turks. They're really anti-white. If they're still around, make sure you go listen to them to get the other side of the coin, to get their analysis. Make sure that you go. I always yield to CNN, as you all know, with whatever they say. Make sure you go there and get their side of the story as well. Piers, thank you very much for letting me know about what's taking place in the chat, and I'll be swiveling over there to see in just 1 second. Piers Taylor writes with another financial gift, $5, and thank you, my dear brother. People in the YT NWG chat are saying that chat is frozen or dead. Entropy chat is working well. Really? It's scrolling here. I can see it on this monitor. So maybe they need to refresh, and maybe it is some glitch banning going on, which, remember, we named glitch banning. I predicted it would happen many years ago. I've been talking about it for a long time, using the phrase glitch banning. Everybody said, what's glitch banning? And I've described it a couple of times. I don't want to describe it again because I don't need to give them any more ideas than they already have. But it could be some glitch banning going on. And how did we come to this prediction? Well, it's going free. We have a book right now called Go Free. You want a lens to understand the world, what's really going on, so that you can retrodict the things that have gone past and predict the things that are about to come, to be a little redundant there, so that people understand that word if they're not familiar with retrodiction. You want to be able to do that, you need to acquire Go Free. It is available in paperback at Amazon, at nowhiteguiltcollectibles.com. It's also available at, sorry, I saw something going on this end too. It's also available as a Kindle book. You can get it there as well on Amazon. So you need to acquire that. Stick with us, Going Free, and we'll be covering the topics. We're going to have the iteration 2. Oh, my hip just popped. We're going to have iteration 2 of the second edition in probably a couple months, and then we'll make that available. If you have a Kindle version, I think you'll be able to just download iteration 2 without having to buy the book over again. Thank you very much, Piers Taylor. $10 from our great champion here in service to Going Free. Let me just, everything on this side of the tech looks like it's okay. Let me take a quick look over here and see who looks like we missed. Sloths came in on Sunday night. We had gone into Monday morning Going Free, which we are wont to do. Okay, yeah. So we had a bunch from Sunday night, Monday morning. Slots with $1. And thank you so much, Brother Slots. Writes, save a Crucible for me for when it's on the No White Guilt Collect. I absolutely will. No White Guilt Collectibles.com. You just you do not purchase it. You just DM me and with your address again, and it'll be signed. Will be on its way to you, brother. We also have our dear sister Vivian, and look at you there in your little avatar. Hello to you, dear sister. Thank you so very much. Financially gifting $3. Possible to have some private conversation with you sometime. Absolutely. I have private conversations with folks in service to White Wellbeing all the time. And let's see, $3 more from Vivian. I know you're a busy man. And so I'd be happy, I guess, to send something to me rather than just the conversation. So why don't we do this? I'm sorry, I got the amount wrong. It looks like that was $7. $7. Thank you so very much. Plus the first $3. I'll send you an email, and if that's what you want to do as an email instead, then that's fine also. So thank you so very much for that, dear lady. And we have here I know what this was. All right. Okay. That's everybody here today. And thank you so very much to everybody. Sorry I couldn't get to your financial gifts. On Sunday night, Monday morning, but it was at the end. They must have come in as I was wrapping up. So thank you so very much. And I have a email exchange. In fact, you all know how many conversations. I probably have a conversation going on with every single one of you. Whether it's a direct message or it's emails on one of the email addresses I have, or through the No White Guilt Collectibles store, I probably have, oh my gosh, how many running conversations? Well over 100, maybe 200 running conversations, and others that come and go. They come in, we start, they finish. So I happily talk with everyone, because the purpose of going free is to help everybody in their lives. And we have some tremendous things taking place. So let's see. I'll take a quick look at the chat. And Vivian says email is good. Promethean Promulgation, the great hero, is here. Would you like auto time stamps on your site or the TAP site? If not, anyone can message me for them. I think on the TAPs, on the afterparty.tv, is that what you're asking about? Well, are you able to comment under the videos? I can't remember. And but definitely here on YouTube, if you can't comment on the others. And Yonash says, don't forget the question widget. I won't. Great to see Yonash. Nancy Drew is here. Great to see you, dearly. The great and hero Roy Danton is with us, ladies and gentlemen. Wonderful to see you. The Orange is here. The anti-whites kept calling Trump a nationalist white, reversed and said he was energizing the movement, even though he is not even white positive. Right? He's not white positive. But remember, they are inside. I briefly spoke to it during PWR. He was reluctant. He was hidebound when it came to say these words, not because he's white positive. He's definitely not white positive. We don't like Donald Trump. He's definitely not white positive. He is just not going to be told, say this, and then he's going to say how high, to mix the to use a second half of the metaphor there. He's going to do whatever he wants to do, and good for him to not. There were some other ways to answer that, and again, if these folks want to get some more advice from yours truly, I'll be happy to provide it. Let's see. Should we start using the term European American? No. Do not use the term European American. And there were many, many reasons for that. The word white we use as ancillary to Westmen, M-A-N, or M-E-N, and Western kind. We use white as an ancillary because everybody knows that white means the race of Western kind. And we use the other terms, though, predominantly, though, so we can begin teaching that we are not a color, we are a people. But you have to start where people are to lead them into a new and healthier place. Vivian says, feels the need to help navigating some things, a thing or two mentally. Yeah, absolutely. We'll help you with that. I've done it many times. We'll make sure you get there. And remember that you and everybody else are having issues. On normal Going Frees, we have calls. You can also call in. Jesse Link is here. Great to see you. Nordic Iron is here. Ursa Major, how are the book reviews on Crucible? Well, there are too few, and I don't think it's definitely not your everyone here's fault. This is Amazon. They're getting in the way, and I'm working with them right now to get the reviews. Having said that, and on a positive note, the reviews are absolutely scintillating. They are throwing incandescence in all directions. I love them. It's a beautiful thing, these reviews, and I thank every single one of you who have written a review. And when you get over there and see the reviews, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you click that all of those good reviews were helpful. This is going to be very important because we're going to have all of these ordinary MAGA brothers and sisters showing up, and they're going to want to see what is this book about? Is it worth reading? Althea is here. Great to see you, Althea. And she says she's working on her Crucible review. And let's see. The person called Roosh says he's black-pilled on, well, of course, now, he hinted to the white positive sphere and claimed that we are doomed. Well, good for him. Never listen to him again. That's my response there. Anybody that's saying we're doomed, they're done. You never listen to them again. That's like eating Clorox, which, of course, Biden said that. Didn't he say that Trump said to inject Clorox in your veins? Again, here we don't know if Trump said that or he said it in jest, or maybe Biden's right. Maybe Trump was giving some advice as a doctor. Who knows? Who knows what's true? You're going to have to find out from CNN. Art Acrobats is here. Great to see you, dear brother. Amazon has a rule that you have to have made $50 worth of purchases in 6 months to be able to write a review. Plus, you need to have bought it on Amazon. No, I know the thing about the $50, but buying it on Amazon, if that's the case, then that's brand new, because you have you used to have, at least where it would say verified purchase when you purchased it. But it was a platform that would allow you to review even if you hadn't purchased through them, because there's a little bit of that, like you can only write a review if you bought it through us. It doesn't matter what you actually think of it. If that's changed, then let's find out. But DG is here. Great to see you. Hello, dear sister. So is the great Mrs. Jess Horst is here. Wonderful to see you, dear lady. Breeze is here. Let me start moving through some of these because we're going to be checking out of here really soon. And Piers just said, Corey Bell just purchased Crucible. Who is Corey Bell? Somebody in our community? Corey sounds familiar. So good on him. And let me just keep moving through here. And thank you very much, Promethea. I wanted to mention as well, Promethean Promulgation. Thank you for your service to White Wellbeing in all the ways that you serve, and with timestamps as well. I know that Pants Monster, big salute to you as well for doing that. And of course, Kathy, wonderful Kathy, who is doing that as well and assembling those. David is here. Bigot Smalls is here. And Carl is here. Jennifer P is here. Wonderful to see you, dear lady. Fornull is here, ladies and gentlemen. Hello to you, brother. James is here. So is Southern Bloom. I love that name. Great to see you. And Moy is here. Hello to you. I'm glad we could get together, if only what for us is brief. For other content producers, they're like sweating bullets to get through an hour and a half, 2 hours. They don't have enough to talk about. They have to have like 7 people on a panel to carry the conversation. But we're able to access the spirit of the West that is inside of us more so than they are, because we are going free of MPs. If you don't know what they are, you're new to this, head on over to Amazon, get a Kindle version. That's the easiest way to do it. Or you can get a paperback, signed one from NoIGetCollectibles.com. These are all tangible things. You'll be able to put your hands on these things. Nothing mysterious. And in fact, I just remembered this. Biden last night talked about how Trump should not have, I can't believe I just remembered this. We didn't talk about it on PWR. Biden last night talked about how Trump should not have canceled the 1619 project and banned the critical race theory. He should not have done these or banned both of these things, because people need to know how they're being made to feel, how they're making others feel. Because he said, somebody grab a clip of this and then put it with a no white guilt clip about me talking about our children. Somebody needs to do this, because then Biden says, he's talking about non-white children, when they grow up with these feelings, that bad feelings about themselves, that society feels bad ways about them, it ruins their lives. No shit. That is exactly what's happening to us, Biden, and all of you anti-whites out there. That is what these anti-white programs are teaching white children, to hate themselves. And they end up growing up being less than they could be, doing things that are harmful to themselves, just as would be the case if non-white children were being taught horrible things about themselves and their people. They need to learn, Biden said, I almost fell off the chair when I heard this guy said this. They need to learn how the white people need to learn how they're hurting these children's feelings, how they are making them feel bad. Really, because there isn't a single policy or program or curricula or anything that is, and there shouldn't be, that is aimed at non-white children to make them feel bad about themselves. But all of it is aimed at white children to make them feel bad about themselves, you son of a bitch. Somebody needs to take that clip out of the debate and then combine it with something that I have said on white children. Look at Pants Monster is here. I was just talking about you, brother. We were just saluting you. Great to see you. Okay, Jacob is here. Bored Troll, who I hope is not bored tonight, is with us. Old Rack is here. All right, I'm going to swivel around. I'm going to make sure we are clear over on this side. And thank you, everybody, for the financial gifts. We have Piers Taylor is back again over here on Entropy. $5 more. Update on the chat. Chat seems to be working now. Perhaps just overloaded servers. But I think Mrs. Jess Horse is still shadow banned. Well, I can see her. Are you on, folks, live chat? Look at live chat. And I've looked at, if she's shadow banned, it's not by way of my channel. It could be YouTube messing with it. There's the great Bartleby. How are you doing, brother? We've got is this the Bartleby, though? We need somebody to vouch for the Bartleby, because Bartleby had a wrench. And can somebody vouch for the Bartleby in the chat? So we know it's the Bartleby. Maybe you could send me a message. What platform do we talk on? Do we talk on Twitter? And I can get you another wrench. If not today, because we're checking out here. If not today, we'll do it next time. Let's see. So $5 more from Piers Taylor. A big salute to you. Thank you, my brother, for getting that information to me. And over here, Tall Kevin Widget. Yonash, what's your opinion on the current escalation of the Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict? Who would be considered white by the anti-whites? Who would be considered white by the anti-whites? Okay, the Armenia is Christian, and Azerbaijan is Muslim, by the way. Yes, I'm going to have to look into the exact conflict. I don't even know I know that it's small-scale conflict right now, not the whole countries at like invading each other's territories, or at least it was a couple days ago. But I don't know what the casus belli was, and I don't know some of the other motivating factors. So I'll have to look into that. Angharad Celtic is here. Biden was wearing black contact lenses to help with vision. Oh, really? And the Dems do not care. He was wearing black contact lenses to help with his vision, Angharad Celtic says. And I guess the Democrats don't care if he wears the black contact lens. I mean, if it's a medical device to help him get by, then I don't care either. I'm fine. But I mean, it's a shame that he's got to cover up his eyes, unless they're not what they used to be. Jonash also supplies an article. This might be an article on. It is indeed an article on the conflict over there, and I'll have to take a look at that. Thank you for that. Very busy right now. We're in the October sprint here. Started a couple days early, but we'll see if I can work in some investigation. Let's see. Mr. Wilson says, when conservative vagues bring up Biden's quote racial jungle comment in opposition to busing to prove quote Biden's the real racist, of course, should we bring up Crucible? So you're talking about the vagues trying to claim that Biden is the real racist. Yes, you should bring up Crucible to them. You absolutely should. And what's the verbiage you use to discuss Crucible? Well, it's in the tweets that we share. It's in the description of Crucible. A great place to look for the kind of verbiage you can use to help bring people over to Crucible is in the reviews that have been left on Amazon for Crucible. They have some beautifully written reviews by wonderful, wonderful people, and I'm glad they honorable folks who immediately got right on top of bringing this objective into the workshop, if you will, and then pushing the product out the other side. Wonderful people. And I thank every single one of you for that. And let's see, Yonash here. It's a shame I haven't been able to buy any of the books yet. Not making talking about the White Wellbeing easier. I bet not. Hopefully by the time the second iteration is out, I'll be able to. I want to get all of them. Do we DM each other? Are you on Twitter? Send me a direct message on Twitter. I'll pay for your copy of Go Free on a Kindle version. All you need is a Kindle app on any handheld device, and I think even on desktops and laptops now. Send me a direct message. I will pay for your copy of Go Free, and we'll get you empowered in ways that you heretofore couldn't even imagine. Kelt writes here, and that's not an exaggeration. That's no hyperbole. Okay, let's see. Be checking out here in just 1 minute, everybody. Let me just make sure we have some other tech things. Where are we? My God, almost at 2 hours. Jeez, goes by fast. Okay, Kelt says, was Biden actually a body double? Judging by his earlobes, hairline, jawline, skin, age, wire in jacket. Trump's referred to him as Jeff. I didn't hear him ever call him Jeff. And absolutely not, he was not a body double. Do you know, or will you in the future capitalize the F in free? And go free, it's capitalized. I'm not sure. I'm not but follow up quickly with another question in the question widget if I'm just not understanding what you're asking. But let me also say this, Kelt, to you. Whatever you do, when you talk about going free with friends, family, and strangers, do not bring up speculation about whether there was a body double. Whatever you do, even if you 100% believe that, just share that with the other people who think it might be a body double. Do not share that it might be a body double with people you're trying to help go free, because you will ruin your credibility, and they'll never listen. They'll never be interested in going free. They'll be absolutely, they'll think it is tantamount to believing in body doubles, and whether or not it's true. Remember, something has to have the ring of truth, even if it's true, because if it doesn't have the ring of truth, then it won't be believed. And if it is wild, you'll just look crazy for sharing it. So you don't want to burn up your reputation with that. So let's see. Finally, we'll take one quick look, and I'm gonna sign out, and I got to get back to work. It's been a marvelous time getting together. All right. We have another financial gift, another parting $2 from our dear Vivian. Thank you so very much, and we will absolutely discuss the Kindle with getting the Kindle to work as well with you, dear sister. So the orange says. Yeah, I don't listen to, don't follow him anymore. Anybody saying, if you're on a team, Ambrielle is here. Great to see you, dear lady. If you're on a team in a sport, and that's what human tribes are, they're teams. If you are in a team and you have a team member saying, we can't win, there's nothing we can do, it's just all over, you get rid of him or her as quickly as you can. That is poison. That is absolute poison. And if you imbibe poison, you'll be sick. And words are far more powerful than the things under your kitchen sink, or the things you put up on the counter over your washing machines, wherever you keep the poisons. The ideas, the words and ideas that you imbibe and that you allow yourself to imbibe are far more either healthful or harmful to you than the things under the kitchen sink. Nordic Iron says, thanks for getting on tonight. No doubt it's been a long day for you. Indeed, it has. Okay, so it is Bartleby. Let me just, quickly. Bartleby says, drop, oh, there you are. All right, ladies and gentlemen, looks like that's going to be it for us tonight. But it's been a magnificent. Oh no, I really want to quickly say, it's right at 2 hours. Crucible is available. Act on it now. Now's the sprint. Don't waste time. Don't wait. Don't say next week. Don't say tomorrow. Don't say I'll get started in 3 more hours. Start now. Start as soon as the stream ends. We're going to be tagging and sending a tweet to James Woods. Every single one of us is going to send a tweet to James Woods. And I'm going to know you sent it because you're going to be tagging me as well. And my Twitter will be lit up with everybody sending tweets to James Woods telling him, hey, there's this book called Crucible, Child Patriot, American Victory, that you really should take a look at. It's very interesting. It is perfect for the hour that we are in right now in the United States. There are going to be a great many. Oh, the other thing I want to mention, great many opportunities here. If you are the kind of person who is animated to go out and motivated to go out to distribute leaflets for Crucible and White Wellbeing. Right now, we have a tab up on nowhiteguilt.org right along the top with the other ones that says flyers on it. If you click on that tab, you will find a flyer that you can download right from there that is designed specifically speaking about Crucible. It's going to maximize your time distributing leaflets in a way that's going to be productive for those individuals who are going to be receiving that leaflet, and at the same time not going to undermine what we are trying to do. We need to be hammering this nonstop. If I could clone 10 of me and be going 24 hours a day, or if going 124 hours a day, I would make it happen somehow. We need to be doing this because there's never going to be a time that is better for the message that is in Crucible, and never an opportunity to empower our people this way by the scores of millions, and never a time that is more propitious because of the interest that our people have now in the future of this country and what it's going to look like for their children. And we used to be able to say for their children and grandchildren and their grandchildren. It's not that way anymore. It's just their children. There is going to be there are changes happening so quickly. It's going to be their children. Make it happen. I've got the sign up somewhere. Where is it? On this side, I think, over my left shoulder. These things are going to be going up. They have QR codes. The leaflet for Crucible also has a QR code, so people can act on their decision when they get the leaflet right away. They can immediately with their phone, if that's their druthers, or they can take it with them and then go look on Amazon later. And it is as anodyne as a leaflet can be, and nonetheless galvanizing. So we need to use what we have put together. We need to put these tools to use. I also want to thank the individuals, and I'm not going to say who they are because we're not going to. I just want to thank the individuals, the unnamed individuals whom I'm working with to get the advertisements out. These are true heroes. I don't think we can mention them because, or at least I don't feel safe about it at the moment, because we're not trying to interfere with the process that is proceeding right now. There are other things that I'm going to be doing just tonight that's going to be advancing this even more. My time, my energy, my intelligence, my effort, my average looks, my tenacity, my endurance, my money. It's everything is now, because now the iron is hot. You need to realize this, and you need to act on it, as there isn't going to be a tomorrow. The things we were talking about earlier, I got wrong earlier at the end. I only got the name of it wrong. The resolution 884, recognizing the global threat, transnational white supremacy. Let's see, white supremacy or white supremacist extremism presents to America and its interests. Resolution 884. This is something that under Biden will move forward through a Democrat White House, a Democrat House, and a very thin margin of Republicans in the Senate. It absolutely would go through, and it would define people like Mark Collett and Patriot Alternative as terrorist organizations. They would be able to be treated like terrorist organizations. And of course, many other white positive groups across the West. The United States would use its abilities, power, everything you could imagine, the same way it does, or potentially could do so, against these entities, the same way it does against ISIS. They would have the authority and the definition to do so as well. It would be within the purview of those departments and individuals to use all of that technology. At the same time, it would state that anybody who is in the United States, any citizen acting, conversating, organizing with any of these people abroad that have been characterized thus would then be able to be treated as co-conspirators. So you can imagine what that would do. There certainly wouldn't be a tomorrow as it looks today if these sorts of things were to go through. We would still continue in service to the White Wellbeing, but we don't want it to get there. Let's make it happen now. Let's get this book out to as many people as we can and change the world, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to get right to it. And I hope as soon as I shut this down, you all will get to it as well. As is always the case, I love every single one of you. And I couldn't relish more, couldn't want more than to be able to spend these most important years of life in an epoch when heroes are made, with each and every single one of you true heroes of Western kind. I love you all. Let's go free.